Hello everybody, welcome to the Jollymun Podcast, episode 40. This is going to be a good one. However, I am feeling I think macabre's the correct word here, sort of aware of the sort of mutiny that sometimes as humans we bestow upon other humans. I was reading my book earlier. I'm not going to say which book it is because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. And one of the characters was not a main character, but was tortured in this war environment, and they skinned him alive. And they describe it. The author's obviously quite good at writing. That's kind of his job. He's good with the pen. He can describe things, feelings, emotions, the effects this people have on each other, and it's sort of. I don't feel quite right now, but I said I'd do a podcast today, so I'm going to do a podcast, and I like to keep up with my expectations of myself. And it was pretty awful. And then I thought, oh, haha, lovely bit of writing. It's still not really real. This is quite fantastical and rather extreme. And then I started looking up on Google, no images or anything. I'm not actually a psychopath, but I was just curious about the historical relevance of skinning. Turns out it's called flaying, and you sort of cut people, you just skin them, and it was a way of torturing. It was a way of showing people used to skin the enemies and then clad the skin on the walls of the castles and things to show how badass they were. Admittedly quite effective. I'd be intimidated. I quite like my skin, so I'd be very intimidated by that sort of thing. Oh god. So the thing is, I don't know. I'm a man. I've got quite clear skin. I'm quite fortunate that way. I wonder how someone with bad skin would feel. Would they feel the same sort of yearning to be clad in their skin or not? Maybe they'd be sort of relieved. Probably not. Unlikely. All sorts of things. That it happens recently as well. It was happening. There's this Aztec god who was skinned. He was skinned. He was alive and he did things. He was the god of something else as well, but he was a skinless creature. And then of course the Aztecs, they made this thing up, and then they just started saying, oh, now we need to skin you because we're sacrificing you. It's like, what do you mean? If I was a victim of that kind of Aztec thing, I'd be really irritated, because at the end of the day, you Mr. Aztec, have made something up. Okay, you said, oh, there's this god and he's got no skin and he got skin, and now you're going to use that as a reason to skin me. That's not based in anything. That's just a story, and now I've got to suffer for that. I think unreasonable. Still kind of spooky though. And then there was this BuzzFeed article of this man who'd been tortured in, I think it was Uzbekistan. I don't know, in 10 years ago, or whatever. And I was shocked because it's rather kind of strong sort of content dealing with it, and that's BuzzFeed. I thought BuzzFeed taught you how to make sort of quinoa pumpkin Halloween cookies, rather than telling me about the secret international relations with obvious torture, which is just sort of swept under the rug. Anyway, but yeah, that it's kind of weird. It really affected me. I sort of just lay on my bed, going, afterwards for a little bit, because I just sort of had to release, had to get it out, all that tension, all the idea of getting skinned. I had to just, god. The thing I don't really understand, how did they manage? So they do it all. They skin him very effectively. Apparently by the end of it, I don't know. I'm not going to say it was a good book. Just read it yourself. But I was thinking, how do they skin his nose? I'm feeling my nose now. I've got rather quite bony nose, I suppose. And I think you'd need to be a real skilled young man to skin my nose. Such a thin layer. And what if you accidentally cut, you know how you say, oh, you nosed the cheese? I mean, you cut the tip of the cheese off. It's sort of a middle class thing. I hear it at my grandparents, that kind of thing. And, but I think that'd be quite difficult. So I was sort of impressed in a way. But yeah, really good book. I'm not going to say what it is, so there's no point. Awful. And my day started off really well as well. I went for my first jog I've ever done in the last 2 or 3 years. I went for a jog and I was feeling kind of tired. Had some eggs. I listened to a good song. Bob Dylan goes, you were something like, the ship sails into the mist. You were born with snakes in both fists while a hurricane was blowing. And he does that sort of voice. But anyway, it's a really nice lyric, I think. So I was having a good time. And then I thought, on my list, the podcast was first, but then I sort of ended up reading and it all went wrong. And now I'm scarred. I look in the mirror and I don't feel right. You were born with a snake in both of your fists while a hurricane was blowing. Very nice imagery. But yeah. The body. Man. The body's sort of strange. It's sort of just in this constant state of like pumping in or pumping out, I've kind of noticed. Because when you've got so much time on your hands like I do in lockdown, I sort of realise how much of like a mechanical system I am. Maybe not my brain, but at least me on the outside. Like I go for a walk and I'm like, I'm wearing too many layers here. I've got my scarf on, that was a mistake. And I'm start sweating. My body's just pumping out sweat. It's just releasing, putting it out. And then I think, God, what the hell? And then it turns out I'm allergic to my scarf, so I sneeze and I think, oh God, I'm pumping out again. It's just outwards. And you go home, you're like, oh God, I'm thirsty because I sweat so much. Now you just water in. It's just sort of in and out constantly. That's all you are. Little tube, little vessel. Like a donut. That's what they used to tell me at school. That's what they said. I've always found that quite funny. Because you're sort of just hollow in a way. You sort of eat and then it comes out. And everything surrounding it is just donut, really. Like a hurricane was blowing. But yeah, the run was pretty good. I sort of found running a little bit strange in the past. You sort of, especially when you see people who like have their little, how Batman, he goes to his Batcave or whatever, and he like presses a button and this wardrobe opens up, bang, there's a black helmet, matte black, it's perfectly torso with pecs bulging out of it, this sort of suit, right, and blades running down the forearm, and he sort of puts it on and he goes to fight crime. I feel like that's kind of what these runners do. They walk up to their like wardrobe and then they carefully ease it open and it's just vibrant pink, green, luminous headbands, armbands, not armbands, swimming ones, the ones that go around your wrist, these shoes, these leg warmers, pink, blue, they all kind of mix together. They've got camouflage little segments where they're sort of greeny blue camouflagey stuff, and they all put it on and then they trot really slowly around the park awkwardly, and then they get to traffic lights and things and they start like, because they were running and then they have to wait at the red light, and then they start like hopping and doing yoga and flexing their arms. They're stretching their arms, legs, neck, blinking loads as well to get their eyelid muscles working. It's sort of quite weird to me. They take themselves so seriously. I just jog around, sweat a bit, get uncomfortable, go home and sort of wonder why I even did it. Everyone else is so strange, aren't they, just Alfie? Everyone else is so peculiar. The amount of rationality you hold, it's just, it's wonderful. You make so much sense. Always. Never not so. And it's not surprising you've amassed such a following on with your podcast. It really isn't. But yeah, so that's sort of what I did. Great British Bake Off is on again tonight. I've sort of become slightly embarrassingly hooked onto it. Great British Bake Off. I used to detest when I hear people talk about Love Island and they'd say, oh, but I don't know, I don't think he loves her like no, but he's clearly this, and yeah, but it's like, oh God, wow, really, this? But then I sort of get quite heated about, no, I don't think he's actually that good of a cook, because, well, I mean, yeah, sure, he's got the flavours down, I mean, you can do that, that's cooking, but is he a baker? That kind of thing. Maybe not to that extent. I'm much more social, so I sort of question each of their sanity and why does he talk like that? Why is his head? I don't really care about the baking. I just like to look at people, sort of like, I don't know. It's quite amusing to me to watch. They say, okay, all 5 of you, you're all fighting each other to win this competition. Now you have 3 hours to stand behind this bench and make some dough, and then they do it. They just do it week after week after week. They've been doing it for like 3 months now. I understand it's pre-recorded, but they're sort of, it's still quite amusing. And then they all kind of start crying about their bread, and one guy's really serious. And yeah, well, I did get my flavours wrong, but at the end of the day, I did get the crust to a nice consistency, and which was what I was really finding difficult previously. It's good fun. I like it a lot. I find it really sweet. I like eating while I watch it as well. It even caused me to make a loaf of bread. I don't know, was it Saturday? I made a loaf of bread. Bang. Flour, salt, olive oil, misery. Fucking hours of wait for it to get bigger. Well, I don't understand. Why do you wait so long to make the dough get bigger? Why didn't you just make more dough in the first place? Why do I have to wait for it to fluff up? Expand. It just sort of like the universe. It just gets bigger and bigger. That's what the bread does. I could just make more bread, and then I could. Yeah, they don't know what they're doing. These people, idiots. If you got something which is just going to get bigger anyway, it's something to do with air. I think the yeast. I'm gonna make, because you can't buy ingredients for one loaf of bread. I'm gonna end up making another one, so there'll probably be a little YouTube video, little comedy thing out there of me making bread, which will be probably unfunny but mild entertainment. I quite like that sort. I like that sort of it's like that kind of Stuart Lee style where you fit into quite a niche. I like hitting that kind of sweet spot of not actually funny, but sort of it's kind of worth watching, but not really. But the fact that it isn't really worth watching sort of does make it worth watching, because it's sort of, you might as well. I think Stuart Lee's really good. I really like the way he keeps it very dynamic, but in a very controlled sense. It's more dynamic. The comedy's not that dynamic, but the way you perceive the comedy, he keeps very dynamic. It's incredible. It's fucking masterful. That's what I'm trying to get across here. The fist while a hurricane. I've got Joker Man stuck in my head now. Oh dear, Bob Dylan. Look what you've gone and done. Yeah. Probably got a few more minutes. Oh, I've got a new podcast introduction, which I hope you enjoyed at the start. Because I'm planning on getting this little noise I make 15 minutes every week on Spotify, and I was worried that my little Muddy Waters Got My Mojo Working, I believe it is, intro would get copyrighted. And I'm not here to take away from the Bluesmen or even end up in sort of a sticky situation where I can't upload. It's just not worth it, really. So my friend, keep him anonymous, but all of his credits will be in this. He's called my friend Finn. It's made me a little one. So hopefully that was at the start just then. Tell me what you think. I think it's pretty well, don't tell me what you think. You're not going to do it anyway. I might as well just save myself the embarrassment. Just, accept that it happened and move on. I think it's really cool. I sent him some songs to sort of base it off. I don't know how musicians do it. You guys are sort of nuts. I sort of say, hey man, I like these noises, but these noises, I like them as well, but they're quite different to the other noises I sent you, and then you send me this new noise, which is like the other two noises, but kind of not as well. It's really cool. I don't understand. Music. Look, I love listening to music. I listen to music very often. It's very important to me, but I don't really understand how it works. Sometimes it just sounds really nice. Yeah, it's good. I like it. It's cool. It's exciting though. Get it on Spotify. Maybe hopefully more people will be able to listen to it. It'll be more available. And I don't know. It's sort of expanding out. Sort of pointlessly. I'm like the bread. I just sort of expand for no reason. Just because I can. I've got space to do it. Might as well push myself a little bit, don't you think? Yeah. We're going to be... Joe Rogan's going to want to be on my podcast by the end of the year. That's all I'm saying. That's for sure. And also make sure you're following my comedy Instagram page. I know this kind of goes... It should be the other way around. Where you go from comedy Instagram page to podcast, because I've got more people on the comedy page. Anyway, I'm sort of being shit here. I'm just sort of talking about myself. Oh, God. A bit meta. No, it's not meta. That was wrong. Wrong use. Like a hurricane was blowing. I think I'm going to end this little podcast here. That was really good fun. I've escaped the misery which I was experiencing at the start of the podcast. I've really, the idea of people being skinned has really sort of left my mind now. So I appreciate that. Thank you for joining me in that little bit of therapy that we had to just go through. It's very nice of you. The book is called The Wind Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami, if you're curious. And it's very good. If you know me, you do, just text me. Maybe when I finished it, you can borrow it. Alright, people. Thank you for listening. It's lovely to be here with you. Goodbye.